Hello everyone and welcome back to Banter. My name is Hazell and today I'm joined by Tanner Dykstra, who we all know what his wish would be. And today we're here to talk about Obsession. This is the new horror movie that everyone's raving about and we're here to give you our thoughts. But of course, if you have seen Obsession and want to talk to us about it, you can leave a comment letting us know your thoughts, or you can join directly to our Discord server, which is a link in the description, where you can talk mano y mano, Tanner.
Oh, yeah, mano y mano y mano.
Us. Yeah, a three-way mano.
That's right. Whoa.
Tanner, let's talk about Obsession.
Sure.
You saw the movie. What do you think about it?
Tucker, I quite enjoyed Obsession from, burgeoning filmmaker Curry Barker. Is this his feature film debut? Or
He's got a movie called Milk and Cereal, but it's spelled cereal like
a serial killer?
Like killer of the
killer. Oh,
yeah,
you're right. Yeah, there it is.
But it's 62 minutes. That's a feature.
That's a feature, I suppose. But this is a studio film. It's an indie film. It's an indie studio coming from Focus Features or Universal or whatever.
Yeah, and Blumhouse too.
And Blumhouse too.
Yeah.
But I think all of those folks got in the tub with Curry here because it's really good stuff, Tucker. It is excellent. I think it's really smart. I think it is really funny. And I think it's also very scary. And, I got a little sidetracked in my opening thoughts, so I'll throw it over to you. But just know that I really like this movie.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing about it. I think this movie is so focused on the one thing that it does that I'm going to be interested, as we explore our thoughts on it, if we can, between the two of us, kind of coax anything out interesting from the script and the characters and things for themes and things like that. Because you and I literally have years and half a decade of experience coaxing themes out of writing in films, because we do reviews of much more serious movies than this. But I've seen a lot of people saying something about Obsession, and it seems like everyone's kind of saying the same thing, but I'm like, yeah, I don't disagree. Like, it's like the performances are great. It's really scary. It's just a very unique vision. And I also had a great time with it. I think that the elements where this movie kind of takes a step up are in how focused it is. Like, there's not really much like B plots or anything going on. It doesn't over rely on its fantastical elements. They exist sort of in the periphery.
Yes, I really like that.
But it doesn't buy too much into those or to over rely on those. And it does some really crazy things with like lighting and framing.
The shadow is and everything that we utilize here. While normally I would critique a film for being like, oh, it's so shadowy, it's so dark, you can't see what the fuck is going on in this thing. So an issue that plagues a lot of modern movies, especially horror movies. But no, there's a certain panache to what Barker is doing here, with how he is hiding a certain character most of the time in shadow. That really leads to like the dread and terror and tension of the film in ways that other horror films are just like, I don't know, there's fucking something hiding in the shadows, obviously. But I think he is able to interpolate that fear of the dark and a lot of other fears that permeate what goes on in Obsession in really interesting ways.
Yeah. Well, to cover the point on lighting, because I think that's where I was most blown away by the movie. I think I think every element of this movie is great to excellent. But I was like, I kept getting my brain would be like, ooh, I'm just like, I'm curious about this lighting technique and stuff, because you're right, it is in the sequences where it's supposed to be very dark and very shadowy, but it's like right on the edge of that, where it's like, oh no, they really meant it to be this way. And there's like just enough light glinting off of something where you're like, oh shit, they like dialed this in. This is very, very intentional use of shadow and intentional use of minimalist key lighting. I think that's probably what it is. And especially in Tanner, these shots where it's dark and there's a tiny little bit of light glinting off of Nikki's eyes. And you're like, oh my God,
that's the good shit.
Oh my God!
When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, we're cooking with something here. We're doing something here. We're doing something very intentional here." And there's a lot of intention in what Curry Barker does in Obsession. And so, I mean, if you're watching the movie, we're gonna do full. If you're watching this review, rather, we're gonna do full spoilers. So go see the movie. It's quite good. We've been effusive about it already. But generally the hook of the story is it's just a great hook. This is also what I love about this is that it's an original story from Curry Barker. And was he the only writer on this? Because I know that he also has his collaborator who plays his friend in the film, Cooper Tomlinson. But yes, just sole writer Curry Barker on Obsession. that it feels like it could be a Stephen King short story, or it's a classic sort of like a Twilight Zone is something that my friends were talking about when we came out of the theater. It just feels like a classic monkey's paw sort of conceit where he finds a thing that's supposedly grants you a wish.
Monkey's Paw didn't make this. This is Blumhouse.
Oh, Tucker!
Whoa!
Look, don't look. It's a good thing I'm wearing pants.
He has a waist.
Oh, God!
Tanner doesn't want the people to know he's got a second half.
Oh, God. Woo. Anyway, Tucker. The conceit of this obviously is, he goes to this little gift shop and he finds what is sort of essentially like a really cheap, shitty looking, like maybe a toy out of like the 50s or 60s, kind of how it's designed. It's a one-wish willow, and you snap it and you make a wish and your wish comes true. And he sort of does this offhandedly, wishing that this girl he liked would like him back. Love him more than anyone in the fucking world, I believe, is what his exact wording is. And it's just a really simple conceit of, what if that came true? Like, what if that literally happened? Like, what are the mechanics of transforming a person's mind and way of thinking and behavior and personality to align with that singular wish that you made? And obviously, like, there's a different version of this movie where she just goes like full killer psycho mode, where she's like, anyone who gets in, who tries to approach my precious bear, I'm gonna slash their throat or whatever. But there's a slower burn, slower trickle of what happens in Obsession that really hinges on the performance of Inde Navarette. That is really, really excellent. That I feel also plays into themes about concerns and anxieties about modern dating, and something that was a phenomenon a couple of years ago, but sort of has fallen by the wayside in the modern, sort of manosphere fears of things. That, like, of the nice guy. People don't really talk about the nice guy in culture anymore as, like, this young man who's like, I'm really nice to this girl, so she should obviously love me and want to have sex with me back. That is sort of, I feel like, culturally gone by the wayside in favor of, like, the manosphere, the pickup artist, etc., etc.
So I think talking about Bear is a good place to start before we, I think, really dive into Nikki and her performance and character, because that's where the meat of the movie lies. But I think what holds me back from really loving this movie, like full out 10 out of 10, is that I think that Bear is a decent character, and I think the guy who I don't remember the name of the actor.
Let's see here, Michael Johnston. Just a regular name here.
Just a regular name on
this guy.
But I think that's kind of the point. Is he's really just a guy. He doesn't have any special sauce about him, and maybe there's an intention to that in that he could just be anyone. He's so bland that I don't know how much I get out of him. Like, I've been reading a lot of takes and conversation about him, which I do agree with this, but as the villainous force in the movie, his decision, his inability to understand the impact of his actions is the opposing negative force of this movie. And that's true. But, like, I just don't think he's, like, I don't think he's that bad. And again, maybe that's in the intention, but, like, when you say, like, manosphere, like, oh man, like almost incel, like, I just want this girl to have sex with me, like, he's not really that.
See, that's not. Sorry, I was maybe conflating too many points there. My point is that he is not like that. Is that he is a more classical sort of nice guy kind of thing. Where he's not an incel, because I see people throwing that word around, and I think it's important when we're talking about these issues, and as they are reflected in this movie, to be specific in our language. Is that I don't think Bear is an incel.
No.
I think he is just a guy who has a crush on this girl who doesn't like him back, and he simply cannot accept that. Which is a sort of common thing for people in high school and college or whatever. It's like, oh man, I really like this person, but they don't really like me back. And what is it? Why don't they like me? What is the disconnect between that? But it is, of course, the way it becomes interpolated in the fantastical premise of this, and in reality in a lot of these ways, where he's like, it becomes a thing of, well, I've been so nice to her. I've been her friend for so many years, and she owes this to me. Like, what? There's a couple lines that Bear has.
Does he ever say that about owing it or things like that?
There is a line that Bear has about more than halfway through the movie, I think around the turning point into the third act, where it's this excellent scene. And again, I love all the moments where where Nikki does this, Nikki or like possessed Nikki.
Yeah. Tanner? Freaky Nikki.
Freaky Nikki. Thank you, Tucker. It's that scene where she's lying in bed and he's sort of sneaking away, and she has this like hushed whisper of like, she's asleep. This kill me. You have to kill me.
Yeah.
Where his response to that is, what's so bad about loving me?
Oh, sure. You know what? That's a great point.
Yeah. He's like, the constant refrain from him is like, okay, I can make this work. We can make this work. Like I can, like it's him. His conceptualization of, I have stripped the individuality and the what's the word I'm looking for here, Tucker? Like, not
identity.
The identity, the personability out of this person, the humanity out of this person who was once my friend, in favor of her being my girlfriend, who is basically obsessed with me. And who loves me unconditionally, who is obsessed with me, who I can have sex with basically anytime that I want. Like that's kind of like his thing. It's like, I can make this work, and when he has that, it's the only moment that he converses with Nikki after the wishes has been made.
So of course,
the real Nikki, that is, and he's in that moment he's like, what's so bad about this? What's so bad about this arrangement that I've made for you?
And I think that is where I think I've found my disconnect. I like that as sort of this like this simple and understandable, but also still very dark element of the human psyche of like wanting one's own wishes so much that they don't understand, like they're so clouded by that they don't understand that actually there's another angle on this that shows it as a dark thing. But he's like 60% into that, because there's also like 40% of this past when the wish gets made where he's like, this is fucked up. I need to get out of this. She's gonna kill. Like, she's creepy. This is freaking me out. No more weird stuff. I'm kind of worried about her. She's lying to me. It does this push and pull where, and I think that's my problem with the writing. And again, this is not a major complaint, but I'm just like, I'm a little confused by it. And maybe there's an intention that I'm not quite getting.
Sure.
But like, I feel like he oscillates between like having these moments where he's like going to someone and being like, this is like, we need to get her help. Like, I'm worried for myself and my safety, which fair enough. And then like the next scene, he'll go to someone else and be like, no, it's fine, man. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Which one is it? Like, it feels like the movie kind of doesn't slide along one path for his, like, what his feelings are on it. It ebbs and flows between this.
Sure,
and I don't quite know which, like, I'm like, well, so like, which one is it? Like, is he afraid for his life as he should be? Or is he like, no, I can make this work? Because even to like some of the last scenes of the movie before Sarah gets killed, he's like, no, like, she's not that, like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, with the tape on the door and the cat sandwich, I'm like, wait, which one is it?
I think he is obviously justifiably creeped out in those scenes, in the really scary scenes and stuff like that. But I think the important thing for his character and for the movie is that when the next morning or whatever, when that has subsided, he's like, okay, like, that was really weird, and hey, Nikki, like, I know
no
you'll
more weird stuff.
I know you'll do whatever I say, supposedly. So like, no more weird stuff. Okay, that is his version of making it work. Is just telling her, like, is recognizing that he is effectively her slave, his slave, and will do whatever he says. He thinks anyway. And he's like, well, if I could just fix these little things, if I could just tighten up the bolts on this situation, then it'll all work. And then when he goes to meet other people,
maybe I'm just too logical, because I'm at a certain point,
you gotta
it's very obvious this is not going to work the way you think
this is. What I also want to talk about. This is the phone call he makes, like the call center, the help desk or whatever, is also excellent, really funny and really existential, and also then at the end of that call, like, really, really disturbing and scary.
Yeah, of course.
Again, but the point of that, the reason he makes that call is like, hey, can I like alter a wish? Because his intention when he makes that call is to not fix it or undo it immediately. He's like, well, can I like interpolate it? Can I say interpolate a lot? Can I change this thing up a little bit to like make it work better for me, to make the situation work better for me? He does not want to free her from his spell in that moment.
Yeah.
And then when the guy's like, nah, I can't do that, man. He's like, okay, so hypothetically then, like, how would I end this? And he's like, well, you like it's for as long as you live.
Yourself, yeah. So,
Yeah,
like,
you can kill yourself, and then of course there's the scene of the ending of that is, well, do you want to talk to her? And it's just the screaming of real Nikki locked away in whatever non-space that she's locked into at this point.
Sure.
Yeah, I really like that scene. I think there's stuff in this movie that is like that, where it's really dark and terrifying, but also quite funny in a lot of places as well.
100%. And I think that is where this movie is really special to me. Is easily I can see someone who's especially not as in tune or experienced with horror movies as you and I are, watch this movie and being like terrified and like nightmares about someone like stalking them or like locking them up in their home, like all these things that are incredibly terrifying and very well done in the sort of horror of this movie. But like I think I feel like I know, and I feel like Curry Barker knows that this is very ridiculous, and so there's still a light touch to these things that are thematically and within the world of the film very serious, but as they're presented to us, I was belly laughing during some moments of this movie. I thought, and frankly, like there were some snickers around me. I was the loudest laugher in my entire theater, and I kept thinking to myself like, oh man, am I like ruining the vibe for some people? And it's very possible, but there were these moments where something so ridiculous would happen, and I would just like chortle. Tanner, I was chortling.
Yeah, but the movie, and this is what I really like about it, is because it's possible for this movie, and I was really getting vibes of, just because they're sort of fresh in the memory and in the horror landscape of like what I really locked into with like the first couple Neon Oz Perkins films, Your Long Legs, and especially The Monkey.
Sure.
The Monkey is more obviously about like crafting jokes around its kills and everything like that. Yeah. A film that I think I remember I liked more than you did.
Yes.
But this is not an uncommon thing for horror movies nowadays, is to do a sort of like horror comedy kind of thing. But I think where the script for Obsession departs from me is that most of the time it is not interested in like joke crafting.
No.
It is more just very intricately and carefully crafting a situation that is walking a tightrope, but that some people certainly will interpret as, oh my god, this is the most terrifying thing I can imagine, and some people like you and I are like, this is incredibly ridiculous and hilarious, and for me works still as like a really good horror movie premise, because again, I'm bought into the characters, I'm bought into the situation, I'm bought into this terrible protagonist who will go to any length to preserve this wish that he has made. Yeah,
and the tension, because that's the thing.
Yes,
these movies' sequences are incredibly tense, and it depends on how that interacts with your personality, whether you are going to relieve that tension by screaming or hiding your head behind your hands, whatever, or laughing. It's about how you release your tension from these sequences. And Tanner, I was doing the like lean back in the seat and going, nope, don't do that. Like waggling my finger at the thing. Bad idea. Like, and because this movie does a really interesting thing where it leaves any given sequence on a moment of tension, and so when you roll into the next sequence, you're already like, nope.
Yeah,
don't do that. This is gonna be bad.
We're continually raising the pressure of the situation. When we leave the party or whatever, which is a great scene that I love in this. He's like, there's no pressure or tension diffused at the end of that. We just left on a high note, and so now the next scene that we see has to start there as the grounding and move upwards, onwards and upwards from there.
Yeah, because, and this is where the movie does build, you're right, with the tension, is because there is no way for Nikki to not ramp up her obsession, the violence that she's willing to commit and things like that, or, the freaky Nikki's willing to commit, but because because she's not rational, and that's the key, is that in any other movie, if someone was prone to violence, they would probably have these sort of fits and spurts of being angered and then lashing back out. And of course that happens here, but there's no psychology behind this. She doesn't have moments of just chill, because even when she's like apologizing or like trying to make things better or whatever, the scenes still end in like, she's still fucked
Yeah.
up and like this is not actually true.
It is a testament to Navarette's performance that yes, she is able to convey in basically any given scene that there is no humanity to her behavior. Well, after this wish is made, and there's like a transitional period, when she's walking around the car or whatever, that's really odd and strange. That obviously the characters recognize that Bear in the film recognizes is really strange. But afterwards, as soon as she's like making the memorial for the cat and stuff like that, you're like, there is no humanity to this performance purposefully, because the personhood has been stripped away from Nikki by this wish, and it just lends itself to the irrationality of Bear to be like, and the inhumanity of Bear in turn to be like, oh yeah, this is good. Like, this is fun. Like, look, we love each other. This is normal. This is good. This is good for both of us. Yeah. It's the interplay and the characterization that I really like there. And we can talk about Navarette's performance if you'd like to. I mean, just like on a far and away the MVP of the movie, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Like the reason that the movie works and is able to separate itself from like other, possessed people movies, or even like crazy girlfriend killer movies or stuff like that. Is her performance. In
a much less deft writing hand and a much less deft performing body face. I don't know.
Yeah.
This could have been like an 80s, 90s kind of like slasher where you're like rolling your eyes, but you don't, because Nikki is such a personable character pre-wish that she has smiles, and she has moments where she's rolling her eyes, and she's just like chill. And so when you buy into her chillness and you see that sort of be sapped away as like all of her focus goes towards like staring at Bear or like or creeping around in shadows and things like that, you're like, oh fuck, man. Oh
yeah,
like...
again, I think it's a tragedy about her character that informs the whole thing, that makes it so watchable, on top of everything that she is doing and that the script is doing in crafting these scenes around her. And I also have to, there's a lot of people who, in horror movies will like say, oh, this person like acts one way and then they can suddenly drop it and act a completely different way, and that's like great acting or whatever, which has sort of been diffused for me, because like actors or whomever talking about that will be like, yeah, that's kind of like the first thing you learn to do in acting school is this trick, this cheap trick of like being one character and then switching completely to a different kind of character. And there's that.
Fuck you, James McAvoy.
Exactly. In Obsession.
Hack.
No, yeah. There's a lot of that in Obsession, obviously. But I think there's also just a broader physicality that makes her performance work. And to James McAvoy, since you invoked him, like makes his performance work in Split. That there's a lot of physical turning over as well. There's a lot of physical dedication to what he is doing, and differently than what she is doing as well. I mean, like the way she moves in some of these like. In the scene where Bear wakes up and she's in the corner, it's such a beautifully crafted scene. He wakes up. It's a classic horror movie thing. I was like, okay, I see some shadows in the room. She's somewhere in the corner of this room.
Did you see her?
Yeah, because my eyes immediately went to the right corner of the room, which is where she is. But then I like drifted over because like. Something over in the left, but that could be like a coat or something like that. And then as soon as your brain is making those calculations, is when she speaks. Is when she has this really great line delivery of go back to sleep. Where like she's terrified but also trying to sound sweet at the same time, and then she hits the I don't like my dreams and stuff like that. And then she's sprinting around the room and stuff, and she's hiding her face behind this plant or whatever, and she's like crab walking across. Like there is so much really interesting movement that Navarette is doing in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, the like sharp movements I think are certainly impressive. They're definitely not where I got my most like creep factor out of.
Oh, okay. Where'd you get that
Uh,
from?
I think it's more facial stuff. I think
Sure,
it's
definitely.
because I those are also moments where I left. Where I'm like,
Sure.
okay, man. Like, because also like why? And maybe this is just like my trying to understand what the logic of this Wish version of Nikki, why is she doing certain things in certain moments. I
Hmm.
couldn't understand why and when she would start moving weirdly, because it would just kind of like happen every once in a while, but most of the time she's moving around like a human being.
Hmm.
And so like I think that I just like my release of tension at the moment, like the fuck is this?
Yeah,
And like it's
I think
impressive. That's not
I
like
think you can. I think for me, if you really want to like world logic it out, is there are moments, especially where Bear is not being, Bear is making it hard for her to love him, basically. Like, he is being like
sure.
wishy-washy. He is being like, we need space, you need to stop being weird or whatever. And like, again, the personhood is gone from Nikki, so like
Yeah.
it is only this whatever vague like magic thing is happening in her brain that is like trying to change her behavior forcibly, while the real Nikki is still in there
Yeah.
somehow, and
Yeah.
still it can exert control sometimes. This is sort of my headcanon for why she does some of these things, why she like will grab a knife, or why she like makes the cat sandwich or whatever, is because it's the real Nikki trying to lash back out
Mm.
at Bear in some of these ways. And the only time that we really see her purposefully, like, or you hear her purposefully doing this, is when she's asking Bear to kill her, which
Sure.
is, it's kind of like it's like a hostage situation
Oh,
thing.
of
It's
course.
like being
Well,
kept captive. Is that
yeah,
like
it's
there's a
it's
period
more
of
than a
time?
hostage situation.
Yeah.
It's an abusive relationship.
Yes.
And the interesting thing about what this movie is doing with its world building and pair of characters to talk about what an abusive relationship is that in this movie the abuse comes from both sides, in that she is violent and trapping him in the house and making him eat weird shit and like attacking him and like won't let him leave and all that, and like that is the traditional someone is taking advantage of someone else situation
Hmm.
of you can't have friends, you can't go out to parties, you can't leave your house, you have to tell me where you're going, all these things, those are
Right.
like classic red flag, oh fuck. But this movie plays it on both sides in I think a very smart way, where you understand why Bear is terrified. You can empathize with him in the situation of this has gone too far. He's way out of his depth. But also, you know that he's the reason all this is happening.
Yeah,
He's
he
letting it
did.
continue to
He
happen.
did this to himself, and importantly,
Yes,
again, I think for Bear's
they're both
character.
in the movie. They're both abusive relationships. In the like logic, okay, this is a movie. She is the
Mm.
victim, but also he's definitely a victim in a lot of these sequences.
Well, yeah. So here's my thing: is that I will disagree with that, because he lets other people view Nikki that way, and obviously,
Sure.
like it's impossible for him to explain this
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah.
But like the reason why, where I can come at this and look at the whole film and look at the message it's probably imparting, is that like he lets people think that Nikki is this crazy, clingy,
Yeah, of
obsessive
course. Yeah.
girlfriend. And was like, "Hey, man, are you doing okay? Like, Nikki's acting really weird. I think she's taking advantage of you." And he
But
lets
no, but then
people.
it's also the other way around. Like his friends will say, "I think you're trying to take advantage of her. She's in a bad place right now." It is both sides.
Yeah, I think that is more towards the beginning, and as Nikki acts more and more strange outwardly,
Hmm.
I think that there's especially with Sarah, is that the girl's name
Yeah,
or whatever? Especially her, because she likes Bear. She's like, yeah, Nikki's crazy. Like, she's not
yeah,
right
yeah,
for
yeah,
you. She's acting really weird. And he's just like, haha, yeah, that's right. And I think the opposite is true of what's his
Ian.
friend's name? Ian. Well, because we know what Ian, we learn what Ian and Nikki's relationship was as well. Is that
Yeah,
he's maybe a little bit more suspect of what's
sure,
going
sure.
on
Yeah, yeah.
in that way. But Bear, importantly, lets people believe that Nikki is just
Yes, of
like,
course.
doing these things of her own accord.
Yeah,
And will constantly make excuses. It's like, there's nothing weird going on. Don't worry about it. She's fine. We love each other, etc., etc. Which is
yeah,
what makes him like a real evil character
yeah.
to
Sure.
me. And why it's why it never becomes like, unsettling for me to watch these terrible things happen to him. It was like, dog, you brought this on yourself. This is all you're doing. You gotta kill yourself. That was like, especially as we hit like Act 3 or whatever. It's like, you just gotta kill yourself at this point, bro. You gotta do it. It's for the best for everybody.
There's only one way out, Tanner.
There is yes. I mean, for Bear, yes. We literally learn on the phone that the spell will exist for as long as he lives. And we can talk about the third act briefly before we wrap up here, because I think it's really excellent. There's the kill of Sarah that I sort of vaguely knew about because Curry Barker in sort of the press cycle for this movie was saying like, like the MPAA maybe take out, like he just said vaguely like there's a scene in this movie that the MPAA maybe take out 3 or 4 head smashes to make sure that it wasn't NC-17.
That's so weird. There's plenty of fucking head smashes in this
The
movie.
MPAA draws weird lines, but he's just like, so
weird.
I had to take out a couple of them, otherwise they would have made me rate it NC-17. And that shit is gnarly in the movie regardless.
That's fucking crazy, yeah.
But yeah.
She like breaks the glass to her head and she brought a brick.
Yeah, she brought a cinder block with her
to put on the steering wheel and then smash the head. That's crazy.
Nuts. It's nuts, man.
man.
But yeah, then that all transpires.
It's also like it's the only kill in the movie, which I think is very interesting. I think
there's a couple other kills that follow this, but they're quick. They're quick. They're not like slasher movie kills classically.
You're right. Ian does die. That's a good point.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Speaking of Ian, by the way, I have to give a shout out.
Dude.
That dude is very funny, and for me delivers the funniest line in the entire movie, which after Bear tries to explain the situation to him on a whim is like, I wish for $1 billion, which is like obviously the thing that someone who doesn't believe you would say in that moment. And then the money is falling from nowhere in the room or whatever, and I love the cut back and forth between their two faces with completely different views on what is happening in that situation. And then, for me, the killer line for me is when Bear goes back home and everyone's screaming and shouting, and Nikki is threatening to like shoot himself or shoot her and shoot himself and gouge her own eyes out or whatever. Ian comes, he's knocking on the door. He's like, Bear, I got like $1 billion, which is for me really, really funny. Just because of the situation that it takes place in. And also, like, Bear knows. He was there.
Yeah, he was telling,
it's just a really funny scene to me.
He's really, really funny, especially in those opening scenes. He is chewing scenery, dude. He's putting everything into it. It's great stuff. And then the ending, the last thing to talk about is the sequence of events is that as everything is like escalating and Ian is dead, Bear locks himself in the bathroom and he takes a bunch of his grandma's pills to overdose and die. And
he almost chickens out. He almost chickens out until we hear that Freaky Nicky has breaks the other one-wish willow that he had to presumably make the wish that he will love her unconditionally.
Correct.
He will love her more than anyone in the world, which snaps Bear into freaky Bear mode to stop himself from throwing up these pills. And you're like, okay, what happens now is a foregone conclusion, which I love. It's a perfect ending to this movie where he comes out and for a brief moment they share their embrace of being two shells of people who only love each other more than they don't care about anything else. And then he overdoses and dies, and of course Nikki is freed, and that's the end of the movie. Is this terrifying thing of like because of Bear's actions, everything got fucked. He died, his friends died, and Nikki is back in the real world, having committed several murders and having committed huge bodily harm unto herself and everything. Like everything was just fucked.
It is one of the darkest endings.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know which I would have preferred. I think there's maybe something in my mind a little bit more. He got his comeuppance if he doesn't die and he is forced to live in this mode of being obsessed with her.
Sure, there's something there, yeah.
Because I think that it's too easy of an out for him because he still goes out on his own terms. He made the choice to ingest all the pills. And
but
commit suicide that way.
he did want to he did regret it though. Like he did try to like throw them up or whatever. Like he
Sure.
ultimately did chicken out in that moment to not
Yeah.
kill himself, not free Nikki, and I don't know what his plan was after that, but he presumably was going to come up with a plan that was probably really bad.
Yeah,
let's
really
be
stupid,
honest.
Yeah. But I mean, what we do get is just like, oh man, this is really bad.
It's a real bleak, grim ending that I think just works for the entire vibe of this movie. Tucker, I'm gonna give this one an 8.5 out of 10.
Tanner, let's do it. Let's shake on it. There we go.
Boom.
Oh yeah, 8.5 out of 10. It's excellent. And I think that this is only a movie that will only improve with more rewatches and more analysis of her performance, and just people talking about this, and this being a sort of springboard for Curry Barker, who has a very strong. I think also this movie looks great, and it's just.
I think so too.
It feels very, very well crafted, and like it's some shade, but not all the shade to Jason Blum. I usually don't feel that when I see the Blumhouse logo, and then we shift into whatever the hell's after that. This is a amazing coming out party for a guy whose work I'd never seen before.
A good emergence, and then he's gonna do Texas Chainsaw Massacre after this, which I like this movie. I don't know how that translates, but I'll be waiting with interest to see.
But like, why not? Like, I mean, sure. Try it, you know. He's got another movie coming out between those.
He does, yes. Anything but Ghosts or something like that. It's called, which appears to be a little bit more of like purely comedy. I don't really know,
not?
but it's also got like it's also got like Aaron Paul and Jessica Chastain in it. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Holy shit! Wait, is that coming out this year?
It's in post-production right now. I saw, so maybe like early next year. Or sorry, not Jessica Chastain, Bryce Dallas Howard. I did the thing.
Oops, you did the redhead.
But Curry Barker is in it himself. Also, he's directing and starring, and Cooper Tomlinson is back.
Very unique looking individual.
True. Yeah. I've seen some people posting some photos of.
Yeah.
I've seen some people posting photos of him on Twitter. I was like, I mean, I can say this as a white guy, extremely white guy, right there, extremely white guy look. Yeah.
But awesome movie. Great job to everyone involved. See you next time.
Bye-bye.